Hello dear students, today I am going to discuss about non-probability sampling. So the outline is for today lecture is restricted to non-probability sampling. But the question arises that why we need to have sampling, for example quantitative sampling, because studying the whole population is difficult in many ways. Why? Because it needs a lot of resources in form of time, human resources and financial resources. So keeping all the limitation, we being a researcher need to get a sample of the population, and we are expecting that this sample should contain the features and characteristics of the population that we want to study. So the primary goal of a researcher is to get a representative sample of the population, and for that we need some specific techniques that our sample should be highly representative of the population. So one of the approach to in quantitative sampling is non-probability sampling. Why it is called non-probability? In statistics, probability means that every unit of the population have equal chances to be selected, but non-probability sampling means that each and every single unit of the population may not have the equal chances to be selected. That's why it's called non-probability sampling, and we can define it as a sampling technique in which each unit in a population doesn't have a specified probability of being selected. So non-random sampling typically produce samples that are not true representative of the population. And when we move on to the types of non-probability sampling, then you will understand why this statement has been written here, that such kind of sampling are not true representative of the population, because it depends for true representation of the population. For a sample it needs certain techniques, and on the basis of those techniques we can say that this sample is a true representative of the population or not. So types of non-probability sampling, the first one is haphazard, accidental or convenient sample. In many cases, in many cases in social sciences, sometime the researcher uses this haphazard, accidental or convenient sample because it is easy. However, it has some drawbacks, that it can produce ineffective, highly unrepresentative sample, and it is not recommended. When a researcher haphazardly select cases that are convenient, he or she can easily get a sample that seriously misrepresents the population. Why? Because anything any step that has been taken at haphazard, or the sample is being selected because of convenience. So convenience is not a good way in sampling, because maybe, for example, if somebody wants to study about a population, and if he visits a certain area, so anybody who is there does not mean that that person belongs to that population, but you are asking a question and you are getting the information. So because of convenience you find a person, but that person may not belong to that specific population, and so forth. So convenient sample is not recommended in research. Quota sampling. this is improved over the haphazard sampling. Why? Because first the researcher identifies categories in the population, and the population may be divided on relevant categories, for example male, female, and for example maybe on age, and there are so many other features of the population. On basis of that you can divide people. For example, if we want to study about a specific city, even that city can be divided into different areas, and we know that certain areas of the city are rich, and certain areas you can say is not that much rich, and certain areas of the cities are poor. So you can divide into three categories, and then you can you can define that how much a sample has to be taken from each category. So a quota is being assigned, and then the researchers wants to get the information about the population, and this technique is a little bit improved than the one we discussed earlier. Purposive or judgmental sampling. Sometimes it is difficult for researcher to reach a population. So for that purpose, sometimes the researcher uses purposive or judgmental sampling technique, and this technique is acceptable in special situation. That situation may be because of some crisis. Their situation may be because of the culture of that area, or because of anything, but in order to reach to population may be difficult. So the researcher needs the purposive sampling, and then an expert view from the sample is being generalized in such kind of research. The other non-probability sampling technique is snowball sampling. Before going to define the snowball sampling, let me give you an example. For example, somebody wants to study about the Kashmiris residing Peshawar. So somehow, being a researcher, you identify a person that he or she or their family migrated from Kashmir, and you are getting the information about that Kashmiri people. So what you will do, you for the next person to be selected, do you know anyone else that are residing in Peshawar? So he or she will give you the contact, and then you contact that person, or maybe that person give you 2-3 people contact or person contact, and then when you reach to that 2 or 3 person more from the Kashmiri population, so you asking again after getting your information that you know anybody else that that also belongs to your community. So in this way, how much you want to get a sample in that city, for example Peshawar, about Kashmiris. So that's how the snowball technique is, finding a one person, and from one person you are getting information about the other person from the same community. So that's called snowball sampling. And similarly, for example, if somebody wants to get in a study about financial managers, so who you first find one financial manager, and asking that who else you know, and it's like a chain, and you are reaching to all possible financial manager in order to get the information, uh, whatever you want to study. So that's how snowball technique is carrying out under in the non-probability sampling techniques. So snowball sampling, it is called network chain referral reputational sampling, is a method for identifying and sampling the cases in a network. It begins with one or a few people or cases and spread out on the basis of links to the initial cases. So from the initial cases, links are being developed, and that's how you are getting the information. These are the references from where I prepared this lecture. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please write your question and upload to KCMS. Take care. Goodbye.